Hello band directors, it's Dwayne Huff of Band Leadership Seminars, Band Leadership Online, and in this video I'm going to answer a couple of questions that come in quite frequently in my Band Leadership Inner Circle private Facebook group from band directors, your fellow band directors, your colleagues. So before I jump in there today, the topic is going to be this. It's called How to Develop Your Student Leaders and Create a Leadership Culture in your band. And before I get started, before I forget, if you'd like my help with training and developing your leaders and instilling that leadership culture in your band, run over to bandleadershipseminars.com, click on that resources tab. I got a lot of great resources there that will help you dig deeper into this. But let's jump into this and talk about how do you develop your student leaders and create a leadership culture in your band. By the way, if you're not a band director and you think this would serve the band director, tag them in this post or send this over to them. Or if you're a band director and you're getting value from this, tag a fellow band director or send this to them. But let's talk about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a leadership development and culture creation cycle. Now, this cycle I've seen work in many different organizations, including bands, but it derives from negotiations theory. And I'm going to give you a framework, a format, a roadmap, if you will, to not only train and develop your leaders, but also instill that culture of a leadership team in your band. And then for anyone who in the future decides to become a leader, you can follow the same pattern with them. So let's start at the top. Like any leader, like any great program, starting with you and then transferring into your student leaders from the drum major on down, section leaders, band council. This is the most important piece that we absolutely must start with every single time. And that first step, and I've got this kind of staggered out here because it's going to be a framework that kind of goes in a continuum. So the first step in developing your student leaders and or developing a leadership culture in your band program is number one, to cast the vision. And for you, that's twofold. It's not just about the band vision, the program vision, but it starts with your personal vision. What do you value? What do you expect? What do you need? What do you want? How do you want your life to look around your band program? I get it and I understand that you don't always have full control over that, but to the degree that you do have control, how do you want your band program to run so that it doesn't wear you out? It doesn't burn you out, and it doesn't give you no free time or time to do the things that matter most to you, like take care of yourself, spend time with your family, have some downtime. And I know that's downtime's like a unicorn in your world. I get that. I understand that. But if you start with that personal vision of what you want your band program to look like, but also what you want the rest of your life to look like, and you get crystal clear on that, whenever you begin to cast a vision for your band program, you start to design it in a way that's more conducive to a balance, if there's such a thing as a band director. So the first thing is to cast that vision. Later, you'll be casting that vision and sharing that vision with your student leadership team. And if you do it the right way, it transfers in to the rest of the band. So we want to take care to make that the very first thing we do is create and cast the vision. It starts with your personal vision, and then it moves into developing a vision for your band program. Once you have that in place and you've established that and you've started to communicate that out to the rest of your band and to your leadership team, we'll get to the second step. But how do you do that? Right? Well, any of your students who are leaders right now, who are returning, who are wanting to be leaders, have leadership roles and titles, and even the students in the band who aspire to leadership but don't know what leadership is, and you don't know if they're going to be future leaders, and they don't know if they're going to be future leaders, bring them in to a huddle, if you will. Pull them aside for a day or for an afternoon, or block out an entire day like a Saturday to sit down with them and talk about leadership, what it is, why it's important, what the culture of leadership can do for you, for your band, for them, and how it can transfer into a legacy for the band. Be very clear on it. Get clear on it yourself so that you can communicate it. Tell stories. Tell examples. Give examples of what you've seen, what's possible, what they've done, and if you have students in your band who are strong leaders, have them to share their stories and their experiences. But make that day about casting the vision and getting everybody clear on what it is that you guys are trying to accomplish and what your vision is for that program. So many times, the students won't come around or come along because they just don't get what you're trying to accomplish. There's a disconnect. And many times when you ask somebody to do something, tell somebody to do something, or direct somebody to do something, they don't comply because they don't get it, they don't understand. There's a book, Influence, a Psychology of Persuasion, and they did some research because they wanted to understand what caused people to comply, to follow along, and to do what was requested or asked or demanded of them. And what they found is that whenever people were told to do something or asked to do something and they weren't given a reason, they only complied 10% of the time. But the moment somebody said, here's why, or we're doing this because, that compliance went up to 90%. And that's what a vision does. And if you can simply communicate the vision to your entire band program, but to your students, leaders as well, you have a better chance of them buying in and that spreading throughout the culture. So that's the first thing. By the way, if you just joined us, I know a lot of people are watching this on the replay. I'm doing this at a time where people are probably commuting or probably having dinner. But if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop a comment, ask a question, and share. And if you haven't run over to bandleadershipseminars.com, do that. Run over to the resources tab. If you'd like my help and if you're serious about developing your student leaders and creating leadership culture, I've got a few resources there that will really serve you. Very inexpensive, very affordable. Run over there, check that out. But the next step after you cast the vision is number 2. Prepare or preparation. This is whenever you train and you develop your leaders specifically. You can send them away to a drum major camp or to a student leadership camp, have me come in and work with you, whatever method you use. Educate them and train them, give them all the tools, the insights, the skills that they need to be effective as leaders. And if you're doing it yourself, many band directors do, find some resources that will serve you instead of spending hours and days and months researching, digging, trying to reinvent the wheel. Go where the wheel is. And if I can be of service, go to bandleadershipseminars.com. There's some stuff there. But prepare your student leaders for their role as student leaders. That includes getting them fully prepared. I had a student reach out to me the other day and says, hey, Dwayne, I've never been in a student leadership position, but I've shown some leadership qualities, and my band director actually approached me about being the drum major, which I thought was phenomenal. And kudos for that potential drum major and the band director. And they said, what should I do? I said, well, first of all, get yourself in a drum major camp. And I said, I can recommend some to you if you need that, but you don't want to enter the battlefield unarmed. And of course, as a band director, I know you'd never do that, but this was a student and they didn't know. But the foundation has to be laid no matter how you choose to do that so that they're ready to take on the responsibilities and duties. And part of that is sharing with them your expectations of what a leader looks like, what they do, and then depending on the roles that they have, what their roles entail, job descriptions, if you will. Get them as prepared as you possibly can. I know that's a lot of headache and that takes a lot of time, but the time you invest up front in preparing your leaders to be able to achieve the vision that you've created, the more it's going to pay off down the road and throughout the season and throughout the year. You won't have to constantly redo and redo and redo. If you set the tone right, if you cast the vision and prepare them, then you can set them off and they have the skill sets, the awareness, and the understanding they need to be able to carry it out. And all of a sudden what you're going to find is not only can they do their job and their practice, they know their music, they're acting, they're doing what they should in rehearsal, but eventually if you do this right, it's called 360-degree leadership. Dr. John Maxwell wrote a book on it. What's going to happen is you'll know that it's taking in your culture when your drum major, your band cap, and your student council start coming up to you and say, hey, we've done the music, we've done the rehearsals, we've moved the chairs, we've got everything in place, what do you need us to do? Or they come up and they see that something needs to be done and they say, hey, let us take that for you. And all of a sudden you've started to develop those leaders around you because you cast the vision and you prepared them. But what happens if you cast that vision and you go in to prepare and things are still a little sticky? I'll show you about that here in just a moment. And then I'll share a story about how this all comes together. By the way, if you're just joining us, run over to bandleadershipseminars.com. Go to the resources tab if you're looking for some tools that can really help you select, vet, prepare, and train your leaders. I've got several resources over there that will meet any budget, and it will help you do the heavy lifting so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay. Third thing we want to do right here, and this may or may not make sense at first, but I think when you think through it, you probably do a little bit of it already, but just be intentional. Number 3 is co-create. Here's what I mean by that. There's an old adage. It says that people support what they help create. People support what they help create. Teenagers are no different. If they feel part of a bigger picture, something that's bigger than them, a goal they're trying to achieve, but they feel like they've had an input, a say, some contribution and creation, all of a sudden they feel like they're a part of it. And that becomes part of passing down a legacy too. But here's what I mean. It starts with the leadership team. Have a conversation with them when you cast the vision and prepare them. And say, okay guys, look, here's what we're going to accomplish this year. Here's what I want to do. And you're fully prepared and ready to do this. You understand your roles, but here's what I want to understand. Now, I'm ultimately responsible as the band director for the direction of this program. It all falls on me. But here's what I know. I know that you guys have very creative minds. You have your own skills and talents, your awareness, your experience, and the things that you do outside of band. And so what I want is to understand your thoughts around the music, around the show, about how we can make it even better, what we can do that I might not be seeing, or what your creative ideas and thoughts are. And then set the tone and say, look, now listen, part of being a leader is being able to make the contribution to the conversation, realizing that your unique idea can build another idea, spawn another idea, but still at the same time, be okay if your idea in its raw form isn't accepted and run with. Realizing that if I share my ideas, you share your ideas, Tommy shares his ideas, Lisa shares her ideas, and we build upon those, something called synergy. 1 + 1 = 3 or more. We create something that was greater than any one of us individually. And that begins to permeate throughout the culture. If you can have that conversation and bring not only your student leaders, but also the rest of the band into the co-creative process, helping them to understand, listen, I need your ideas. We're going to spitball. We're going to brainstorm. We're not going to judge any ideas. We're not going to say that won't work. We're not going to say we're not going to try that. We're not going to say anything. We're just going to spitball ideas. And we're going to watch the creative process generate something that works to create the vision, but bring it to a place that we don't yet see it. And I want you to be a part of that. That's the co-creative process. People support what people help create. Now, once you've done that, it's time to move to the next step. And before I jump into that, remember, if you need some help training and developing your leaders, selecting them, vetting them, and preparing them for next season, run over to bandleadershipseminars.com. Go to the resources tab. I've got some great resources for you there. By the way, before I jump in here, for those of you who may be watching this, somebody forwarded it, somebody liked it, somebody shared it, and you're not aware of who I am, again, my name is Dwayne Huff with Band Leadership Seminars for the past 7 years. I've traveled the country working with high school and college band programs to help them build team, create a leadership culture, develop their leaders, and leave a legacy as the years go on. But my background is not as a band director. It's as a student leader, a 9-time student leader, 6-time drum major. And basically, I like to joke with kids, basically makes me a unicorn. So I've never been a band director. I come from a student leadership perspective. And I don't say that to impress you as far as the nine times and 6 times, but in the context, here's what happened. I had some great mentors, Dr. Tim, George Parks, both of those guys, 3 times summers with Dr. Tim, 2 with George Parks, a couple with a gentleman by the name of Tom Leslie out at UNLV. And all of that experience, some of it went good, some of it went bad. And I realized what Dr. Tim had come to say at one point. He said, you know, the things that we're asking you to do as leaders, you're not capable of doing. And of course, he was talking about the prefrontal cortex. And so when I got on the other side of that, I'm like, okay, great. Well, I want to go on a journey and see how I can make it and build upon that legend and see if there's anything I can do to make it better of an experience for student leaders. So even if they can't make the decisions long-term or short-term and see the consequences, what can I give to them? What can I teach them? What principles can I lay in place? And how can I have them action it in a way that even if they don't fully understand it, if they apply the principle, it turns out the right way? And that's where my program, my live program, and my resources and my online program are different. You've probably been to multi-school seminars and events where somebody came out and they delivered a 2-3 hour rah-rah session with motivation, and there were some nuggets of wisdom there, and it was good. But all of that wore off basically from the moment they hit the door, or at least by the time band camp wore off. how do we extend it past that? How do we ingrain it to where it stays throughout marching band season, throughout their year, and throughout their life? And that's what I went on a journey to find out. And so the things that I teach now and in those live events and in my resources are things that I wanted to give back to the people who gave so much to me and the students who came after me. So all of this, I went on that journey to find, and I had a lot of great mentors who shared what a lot of the stuff that you'll see here. And if you haven't liked this page, like it, because every time I go live, you'll get more. This is absolutely free. It's me serving you. And if you have a question as a band director, please don't hesitate to reach out, drop it in the comments. If you have wisdom around this, from a band director's perspective, because again, I'm not a band director, I honor you for what you do. But if you have perspective, suggestions, ideas, or experience, either good or bad, please drop it in the comments and share, right? And run over to bandleadershipseminars.com, go to the resources tab if you need my assistance training and developing your leaders. But let's go to the next step. Vision. Preparing your leaders. Co-creating. Okay? The next step in co-creating, I got my notes to make sure I don't leave anything out here, is after you've co-created, there's going to be a lot of ideas floating around, spinning around. Some you're going to agree upon, some you're going to want to use, some you don't. But then it's time to get what we'll call buy-in or agreement. And I'd simply say this, going back to the co-creation part, once you have all these ideas floating around, you've nailed a few down, cast the vision again, prepare them that this is the way forward, remind them that they were a part of the creation process, honor them, thank them, and say, guys, now it's time to nail down the things that we will move forward on. Here they are, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even list them out. You can either put them on the board or you can get a piece of flip chart paper. Well, they'll stay forevermore on the wall so you can look at them all season. And then you get the buy-in. Hey guys, here's what we decided. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's going to make this happen. It's going to benefit us this way. It's going to make our show extraordinary this way. And as a result, we're all going to rise to the next level, be a competitive band, and work together as a team. All in favor? And they'll say aye. And that's one way of creating an agreement. But you want to get agreement before you move on. You want to stack hands, because that verbal, that emotional, and that mental buy-in at that point in time gets everybody on the same page and bought in. And there's read the book Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. There's another book called Triggers, and it talks about how people stay consistent with their decisions. I'll give a rough example here. People who like a certain sports team, people who voted for a certain candidate, people who decided on Chevy versus Ford. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Once the decision is made, people hunker down on that and will fight to the finish to honor what they've agreed upon, right? And so when times get tough, times get challenging, times get frustrated, they want to quit, they want to give up, they're inconsistent, they want to throw in the towel, they don't want to follow up on their responsibilities, they don't want to practice, they don't want to show up to rehearsal. It's really simple as the leader of the organization to say, hey guys, I know you guys are struggling. I know it's challenging. I know you're fighting a lot of battles outside, but I honor you. You're awesome. You're doing a great job. We're in the middle of the season, and I believe in you guys. Let's revisit what we said was so important. Let's revisit what we created and what we agreed upon. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. All in favor? Aye. And finally, the last phase of this, if you want to spread it throughout the culture, have that leadership culture permeate, stay, be passed on. Obviously, your leaders need to be mentors, and you need to train them up on how to do that in that preparation process. But it's a constant. Last thing here is evaluation. And I'll put constant, evaluation. I don't know what it is. The temperature just dropped here today. And I know up in the Midwest and the North, it's like frigid cold, so I'm very fortunate that's not here. But my allergies, and I don't suffer from allergies. My wife does, I don't. But my nose has been itching today like you would not believe. I've been sneezing my head off. So forgive me if I'm scratching my nose. I think I might sneeze here. This is live. I'm not going to stop it. I'm not going to edit it out. You get me. And hopefully you like that, right? But constant evaluation, what does that look like? It's pulling up with your band once a day. I teach band directors do it this way. Have teacher leaders, and this is part of mentorship and legacy, teach your leaders how to have a quick 2-minute conversation with their section after every rehearsal before everyone disperses. It's not easy, but if you instill that in the culture, it carries. And at the end of every rehearsal, hey guys, before you spread out, 2 minutes, give it your section leader, go. And the section leaders are trained to ask 2 questions. Hey guys, what did we do well today? And the tendency of your band and band kids is going to be, oh, we did this wrong and we did this wrong. This was terrible. This sucked. And you have to train your leaders to say, no. We did some good stuff. I'm asking you, what did we do well? And encourage them to say what we did well. And then ask them to say, what are some of the opportunities that we have for next time? Where can we focus? Where can we get better? Okay? And then to bring that to a huddle to you for 2 minutes to 5 minutes after every rehearsal. I know it seems like a lot of time, but if you put it in the culture a bit at a time, it'll stick. And ask your leaders, hey guys, what went well today? And let them give you the feedback from what they observed and what the section said. Say, fantastic. What were some of the challenges and opportunities that we have to focus on next time? Fantastic. Let's set a goal for next time. 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals. Does not matter. But it has to happen consistently. It has to be constant and consistent evaluation. And what happens is, by doing that, it is my mom's watching. Hello, Mother. How are you? I love you. All right. Yeah. It's always good when your mom is there. What happens is if you're consistently evaluating, it keeps you aware. This is like your North Star. It keeps you on track so that you guys don't get too far off from your vision. You know how a slight degree of variance over time can do that. But if you are taking responsibility to consistently and constantly evaluate, and you're teaching your leaders and the rest of the band to have that, you've created a culture. And it goes back to the vision. And then the vision helps your students to be more prepared, encourages them to be more of the creation process, because people support what people help create, gets buy-in in agreement so much easier because everybody's on the same page and we've all agreed, we stacked our hands, we're consistent with what we agree upon, and constantly evaluation. A beautiful cycle. Now watch this. Well, Dwayne, what if something falls apart? I'm glad you asked. Check this out. Let's say you cast the vision and you go to prepare your leaders, but there's confusion. Guess what? Back up. Go back to casting the vision until everybody's on the same page. Okay, Dwayne, what if I'm preparing my leaders, they're all good to go, and we get in the co-creation process and somebody gets bruised because their ideas weren't used? Go back to the preparation process, helping them understand what leadership is, why it's important, and the fact that they're servant leaders. What happens if you're co-creating and nobody can come to agreement? Back up and say, hey guys, let's go back to the co-creation process, because remember, it's not about my idea, it's not about your idea, it's not about his idea. It's about our ideas creating something that's greater than any of us can be in and of ourselves. And then you get the picture. What happens if, when you evaluate, things aren't tracking right towards your vision? Back up to wherever you need to go, right? And so, again, if you need help with this and you're serious about developing your leaders and you just need some tools so you don't reinvent the wheel, run over to bandleadershipseminars.com, click on the resources tab, or move around the page. You'll find all kind of great things there that can serve you to fit any budget, really. But this is a framework I wanted to give you. I've never shared this before. This is the very first time that I've shared this, but I was thinking through things today, and I knew I was going to go live to serve you guys, and I was thinking about some of the questions that had come in. And, you know, one of the things that as I went on my journey to come back and help students, I delved a lot into communication, team, leadership, negotiation skills, selling skills. I was a 14-year sales rep before I started my company. So all these things that I learned about people, about how they work together, about what motivates them, about what distracts them, about what makes a team stronger, about what makes leaders effective, has all gone into learning how to put it all together. If you'll take this and you'll start to incorporate it right now, well ahead of marching band season, and you'll select your leaders carefully, vet them, get them all in the right place, tell them what you're trying to accomplish, prepare them by sending them off to camp, training them up, sending them away to a leadership camp, investing in some of my resources, whatever. Bring them into the co-creation process, teaching them how to do that for the rest of your band. Get agreement from them and from the rest of your band, or at least them, and then constantly evaluate, what are we doing well? What could we do differently? What goals do we need to focus on? You'll stay closer to your vision, and you might even find that the vision evolves and changes and becomes even better over time. You know, I'll leave you with this, a story. You know, when I think about some of the greatest band directors that I had, I can think of two in particular, and I think probably their greatest qualities as leaders was that they made us, every individual in the band, feel like that. Feel like individuals, but feel like very important pieces of a greater whole that were indispensable. Now, we all knew we were indispensable and that we could be replaced just like that, but we were never made to feel that way. And on some level, they praised us, they recognized us, they included us, they lifted us up, but we felt part of that team, that family, and that community. And therefore, we had a team of family and community because of how they led. And I've had several band directors. A couple of them were, unfortunately, horrible. And I learned a lot from that as well. But what I did learn is that the better way to be is someone who's excited, who casts that vision, who's inclusive, who lifts the strengths up of the individual members to create something better, and who's constantly pinging the group to make sure we're on track. That's your job as a leader. If you teach your leaders how to do that, they start to develop and grow up leaders. Put that mentorship in place and let your leaders know that they're leaving a legacy rather than just being part of a band program. They have something to aspire to. And one of the greatest calls of leadership is to train up, develop, and send out other leaders. Listen, if that served you, drop a comment, share this with someone that could benefit from it as well. Share it with a colleague. Like the page, because you'll see every time I go live, and just share this. Let's get the word out about leadership and how to build strong, amazing band programs. Because when I said earlier, I've never been a band director, but I honor you for all you do. I run into people every day in the world just like you do. And I can almost tell immediately which one of them are band kids. Because they have a greater deal of responsibility, of work ethic, of respect, of politeness, of ethics, of honesty, of integrity. Not all of them. But I ran into doctors when I was in the pharmaceutical industry. Couldn't tell you how many of them were in band. Remember a couple of them. I played the clarinet, I played the drums. Well, that was an exception, but I'm joking. But you're creating, you're doing amazing work because you're giving these kids the principles that will last them a lifetime. You're serving them. You're giving them an experience that if they never feel a part of anything again, they can always come back to that. And I honor you for that. And I'm here to serve you in that capacity. If I can do anything furthermore, run over to bandleadershipseminars.com. See how we might be able to work together in the future. And if you don't have the resources to do that, good news. I've got a YouTube channel full of these videos. If you like this page, you'll see when I go live. And if there's something else you need, let me know. I'll create it. Until we talk again, encourage your students to check out the YouTube channel. I answer their questions. If they have questions, send them over to me. I guess the best resource is bandleadershipseminars.com if you need to get in touch with me. And remember, you and your students can inspire superior performance. You just got to be willing to cast that vision. Prepare them. Co-create with them. Help them come to agreement as one community, team, and family. And never stop evaluating your progress to make sure you stay on track and that your vision, not just the band vision, but your personal and your organizational vision is achieved and you go to higher levels. And if I can be of service in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day. Have a great night. And even if you're watching this on replay, feel free to drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Take care. Talk soon. Bye-bye.